When it comes to planning a retreat, there's ways to get it to go from average to incredibly transformative. Welcome to Retreat Boss, where we speak about inspired travel for fun, transformation, and profit. Guest experts will give you their tips and tricks on creating the most impactful retreats, both for you and your clients. Whether you want a meditative getaway, a wellness trip, or a business escapade, we provide you with the best advice in organizing and hosting a tremendous event. Join Catherine Kontos as she talks with fellow experts about creating exclusive and successful retreats. Dive deep into the most unique activities, the best destinations to visit, and the most uplifting trips out there that you can discover. Here is your host, Catherine Kontos. Hello and welcome again to Retreat Boss, the podcast. Today I have Dr. Kristy Vanacore, who has been an inspiring trailblazer in the field of holistic psychology for the past 2 decades. Beloved as a modern-day medicine woman and rewilding mentor, her inventive approach to whole being healing and wellness blends ancient wisdom with contemporary science. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, it is great having you because not only I love what you do, I'm aware that you are a retreat expert per se. You've done a few retreats. There's a few coming up as well, as usual. But I love the fact that you're doing this because you do want to spread that knowledge across, and it's a purposeful way of living your life through your work, and I'm sure you feel very fulfilled doing this type of practice.
This is why I'm here. I've known since I was a little girl that I was put here to help people, and I was always the little girl who brought groups of people together. I would kind of amass the tribe, and I always felt most safe and most secure in the tribe. And so it was sort of like, I know this is my life's mission. I know this is my life's work. It was just in me. It's been in me. I believe in past lifetimes as well. So yeah, it is so incredibly fulfilling every day to be able to do this work and bring people together in community for, really powerful collective healing, empowerment, health and wellness. So I just feel so grateful that I get to do this and meeting people like you who share in the mission. It's everything to me.
Yeah, it warms my heart to be around and surrounded by people such as yourself, because we are like-minded. We have a certain mission that we want to accomplish.
Yes.
And we're not money motivated in a sense where some people just see the final dollar. I see the impact that I make on people, and I feel like you're the same from our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain to me, so people can really understand what holistic psychology is and how you approach it?
Yes. So that word holistic, right? It's been thrown around a lot lately. And so it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And for me, I was trained as a very traditional Western medicine psychologist. And, we were taught to see every problem as a symptom. We were taught to make diagnoses. We were taught to prescribe pills. We were taught to prescribe therapy. And that was the gist of it. Nowhere in there were people's narratives, were people's stories, right? Nowhere in there was really anything about trauma. Nowhere in there was really understanding, when a person is in a state of disease, right? It's really a state of dis-ease, and where that state of dis-ease is coming from in the system. And nowhere in there was any conversation about how humans are fundamentally energy. Everything is energy. We are energy. Everything is energy. And nowhere in there was that conversation. And nowhere in there were conversations about nervous system regulation and really getting to the root cause of what caused people to become diseased. And at the time when I was learning this, in school, I was simultaneously going through my own healing crisis. I had suffered with debilitating anxiety for years. I had multiple autoimmune issues going on. I was actually breaking down physically, psychologically, spiritually. I felt like an empty vessel. And I saw that these traditional approaches that I was trained in, that I was trying to both subscribe to and consume, as a consumer, not just as a healer in it, right? Not just as a psychologist in it, it wasn't working, wasn't helping me. And not only was it not resolving me of my symptoms, but I was feeling more and more disenfranchised. I was feeling very dependent on practitioners. I was feeling dependent on pills and supplements and protocols and programs. And nowhere within me was I able to source any kind of strength or any kind of healing. And so I quickly realized that I needed to do something different. I needed to do something different for me. And also at the same time, I needed to offer something different for people who were coming to me, and putting their lives in my hands and wanting me to help them. And so I learned and I studied, and what I realized was happening was that I call domestication, right? We were such in a state as humans of evolutionary mismatch. Couldn't get those words out. Evolutionary mismatch, meaning that the way in which we were living, and this is still true today, the way in which we are living is so at odds with the way we were fundamentally built, right? With our inherent programming. And in the space between, in that gap, and that gap is growing larger and larger and larger, sadly, every day, in that gap is where all the problems start, right? So we're becoming further and further away from our roots, from our essential self-healing capacities. And that is why 88% of Americans right now, and I think that's an underestimate, 88% of Americans are chronically ill with multiple psychological and physiological illness right now. 88%. That's alarming. And that's not even children, that's adults. Right now, it is estimated that between 65 and 75% of children, right? Children are diagnosed with multiple chronic issues. So, all of this together, I learned, okay, there needs to be a different way. We need to not only get to the root cause of this disease, but to do so, to really heal, we need to bring people back to their roots, back to the essence of what it means to be human. And I've called this approach rewilding. And this is what I mean by holistic psychology, right? It's the whole person, but bringing us back to our roots, where we came from, right? Our lineages, our ancestors, how we are inherently structured and organized and built as a mind, body, spirit system. So reconnecting us with those roots so that we can rekindle our connection with our instinctual wisdom, so that we can ultimately reclaim our sovereignty, the freedom to be boundlessly joyful, full of unconditional love, that ingenuity, our passion, our life vision, and our self-healing capacities. So we as humans are self-healers. We are these magnificent beings, that are fully equipped with everything we need to heal psychologically, physiologically, and spiritually. But our domestication, our conditioning, right? Living the way everybody has wanted us to live, right? Buying into this hyperkinetic culture that is so, hyper consumed, and we're over consuming, right? There's so much consumption. That domestication has ripped us away and encaged us. So once we strip that away, we are reconnected with our ability to heal ourselves. So we no longer have to be dependent on anybody. I tell my clients, I don't want you on my therapy couch. I want to get you off the couch. I want to get you off the pills. I want to get you off the protocols and the plans and the dependency on practitioners, because you don't need them. You need somebody to teach you to help you reclaim what is already yours. And so for me, again, that is this journey of rewilding. It is a reclamation. It is emancipating ourselves from the domestication that has caused us to become fearful and tolerant and distracted, so that we can become present and we can tap into all that is waiting for us inside.
I absolutely love I have every single thing you said there, because
Thank
I
you.
do believe we have a disconnect from who we innately should be, okay, our core, to what the world is offering us right now. There's so many options, so
Yes.
many things happening, so much distress, and I feel like the world is in pain in general. It's
Yes.
not just the US, or it's not, it's just in general. And reconnecting these people back to their original self,
Yes.
they should have been before all the programming came in,
Right.
is the true essence of healing.
Yes.
And I just do everything that you said resonates with me very closely, because when I did open up my addictions center, retreat center, that was exactly what the purpose was to bring them back to nature, back to their core, because they got
Yes.
lost along the way. And this creates all the disease and everything else that happens to their body, their mind, and everything.
Right.
Um, it's exciting to speak to you, because
Oh,
I just,
thank you.
I can interview many, many people, but I just loved your approach on how you do this for people. Um,
Thank you.
so you offer, no, before I go to the retreats, what I want to know is, do you feel like what you do actually heals people from their physical ailments? So you mentioned autoimmune disease and maybe other diseases, like I don't know, something that really hurts the person physically.
Yeah.
We know that stress is often just a culprit to many, many diseases. And once it's
Yeah.
eliminated, it could reduce the symptomology, but will it eliminate it? So this is my question to you. What do you feel your program has done for these people?
Yeah. So here's the thing. All, as I had said a few minutes ago about disease, right? This word disease is really dis-ease. So all illness of any kind, physical, psychological, is all the result of an energetic imbalance. So again, because we as humans are made of energy, we are no different than the wires in the wall, right? That have circuitry running through them and are covered by rubber. We have circuitry running through us and we're covered by skin. So we are all energy, and illness of any kind happens when there is a block in the system, when there is a block energetically. Now, what that looks like on the surface, right? Because when I start to talk about energy, some people get very weirded out. They think it sounds, hocus pocus or weird, and it's not science. This is actually the field of quantum physics. So what I'm teaching right now, what I teach people all day long, is actually physics. I laugh and I say, my God, if only I knew in 11th grade physics class that I would be teaching people physics one day. This is physics. And so if we are to understand that we are energy, then we start to understand that a true healthy system, okay, just like if you were to take your phone and plug it into the wall, right, there would be the electrical current going from the phone into the wall, right, and it would charge your phone, and there is a smooth current that's running through, right? Well, it's the same thing for us in our human bodies. So in order to run efficiently and healthfully, to be in a state of health, the current, the electricity, needs to be flowing freely. What happens sometimes is energy gets blocked, and I'm going to explain how that happens in a minute. There's blockages, there's points of stuckness, for lack of a better word, right? There's points of stuckness. And when that happens, it's in those places where they're stuck that disease and illness forms. So how this happens, one of the biggest ways that this happens for people is through trauma. Now, we've all experienced trauma. So we're all walking around as humans with a story. We all have a story to tell, and we all have an experience of trauma. And some people hear that word trauma and think, well, nothing major happened to me, like nobody died, or I didn't get, raped, or something so severe. But trauma is anything that by definition caused us to be in a moment where we were not prepared to handle it. And our nervous system became dysregulated and our energy system blocked, right? Now, the ancient shamans, I could talk about this all day, so I'm going to try not to digress too much, but the shamans, right, the medicine people have taught us that by definition, trauma disconnects us with our soul, right? Because what happens when we experience trauma, and the work of Gabor Mate, if anybody out there wants to read about this more, Gabor Mate is really the pioneer in some of this research, even Bessel van der Kolk, on the effects of trauma on the human, right? And what really happens. And Gabor teaches that trauma is not what happens to you. You know, it's not the fire in your house or the horrible car accident or any of that. That's not the trauma. Trauma is what happens inside of you because of what happened to you, right? So when this event happens and we are not in a position where we can get ourselves to safety or perceived safety, there's a disconnect and we rely on coping skills. Those coping skills become our personality, but that is not the essence of who we are. So now we're separated, we're detached, we're disconnected from our true self, from the essence of who we are, right? And this is how we end up living in survival mode for so long, and we don't even know it, right? We don't even realize, we think that's who we are, you know, and that is not who we are at all. That's who we believed we had to be in order to be safe, right? Mm-hmm. So these energy blockages in the system, trauma is one huge way this happens. There are so many other ways this is happening to us now. For instance, EMF exposure, right? Lack of sunlight, lack of circadian living, right? So as humans, we are programmed much like the earth around us, right? We're on a circadian cycle. We're supposed to rise with the sun, set with the sun, right? We have our cycles coordinated with the moon, right? And the ocean. So we are living so far away from that. There's that mismatch again. And that causes our system to come into a state of energetic imbalance, right? The foods that we're consuming with all of the toxins and the Roundup and all of this are interfering with our system. So there's so many ways that this happens, but my approach to this work, first and foremost, begins with teaching people and educating people. Because as I always say, if you don't know how you work, you can't make you work for you, right? So what I'm explaining now, for instance, about energy, as I said before, some people hear me talk about energy, they're like, oh, this is, I check out, this is woo-woo. And I'm like, let me teach you about science. They don't want us to know this, because if we knew this, we could heal ourselves, right? So I start with educating. I teach people who we really are. What does it mean to be in this human body, mind, body, spirit? What is that all about? How does the mind work? How does the body work? How do the two work hand in hand? What does this whole energy thing mean? What is it really all about? And how do I direct my energy, right? We all have the ability to direct our own energy. And so in the work that I do, again, I start with education. In the process of learning, people have these aha moments of like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so this isn't really who I truly am, right? Because people come to me, you know, in my private sessions, for instance, people will come to me who have been living for so long in survival mode, or who have been living with so many limiting beliefs for a really long time, right? And it's holding them back. And at one time in their life, it kept them safe. Now it's holding them back. They want more. They see more for themselves. They know there's something out there and they don't know how to get it, right? So I teach them what those limiting beliefs are all about, how they've become disconnected, how trauma works, how energy blockages occur. I teach them all of this. They're starting to make connections. I start to teach them how to bring the nervous system into a sense of safety and regulation, for instance, because before relaxation or thriving can happen, regulation must happen first. So I teach them all of these, not only the wisdom, but the actual practices for how they can do this themselves, how they can start to bring themselves into a place of regulation. And then I actually show them, right? Because again, one of the parts of the biggest part of rewilding is bringing people back to their roots. I take them into immersive experiences where they can remember. So for instance, on retreat, when we are gathered around a fire and I put a frame drum in each woman's hands and we are drumming, they instantly know what to do. Now you might say, okay, it's a drum. You beat the drum. What do I need to know how to do? Point is, women were the original frame drummers. Women were the original shamans. I put a drum in a woman's hands after having started to teach them all of this. Now there's space for them to remember. Remember who they were before the world told them who they should be. They start to remember the roots of where they came from. They start to remember, and as the sound of the drum is beating and the vibration is vibrating in resonance with the vibration of music within their own energetic body, they're healing. And so it is a profound experience that takes them on this journey of healing, not only psychologically, but physically as well. Because once we bring the energetic body back into balance, disease can't live there anymore. Disease starts to resolve itself. You know, something like autoimmune disease, for example, if we think about what an autoimmune disease is, right? Essentially, it's the body developing a reaction, so to say, to itself, right? Almost seeing your own body as a foreign invader.
Yes.
If we look at what that really means, right? It's like, I'm so disconnected from myself, I don't even recognize myself.
True.
Right? Once we repair that rift and we reconnect people with their truth and their essence, that illness has no place to live anymore. So it's this beautiful approach, this sort of, for lack of a better word, like wraparound approach that targets everything, right? Physiologically, psychologically, and spiritually. And by spiritually, this is not religion. This is connection with all that is. This is connection with source. This is connection with every being that exists, right? Because we are all one. We are all one energy.
And what do you do when it comes to the retreat? Is the people that do come, are they part of a program and the retreat is part of that program, or is it something that people could get introduced to, this type of healing, or like, is it open to everybody? How do you work these retreats?
Yeah. So the retreats are open to everybody, but not everybody is open to them, right? So, you know, retreats have been around for as long as time, right? So the Native Americans, however many years ago, used to, and the shamans used to prescribe vision quests, okay? So if somebody went to a shaman and they were complaining of any kind of ailments of any kind, and it was determined that they were disconnected, you know, at the soul level and to spirit, they were prescribed leaving home. They would leave their belongings, they would leave their families, and they would go into the woods, right? And they would be in the woods, no food, no water, nothing, right? And it was in the process of doing that they would reclaim their connection. They would hear their own voice. They would reconnect with their soul. They would reconnect with the vision that's there for their life, right? They would understand their purpose, and the passion would come and their connection with spirit would be there. This is the way people were healed, right? The same thing if you went to a shaman and they said, okay, come to the fire ceremony and everyone in the village is going to be there and we're going to heal together using singing, dancing, storytelling, silence. Those are the 4 universal healing salves. And we're going to heal collectively, right? So this concept of collective healing experience has been around for as long as time. But because again, we've gotten so far away from this concept is so foreign, and not only foreign, it can be scary to some people, right? Who maybe have just gotten used to coming into a therapist's office one-on-one and closing the door, you know, and sharing their secrets in the office. And then they leave the office and they go out in the world and they can pretend it doesn't exist, right? So the retreats are, they are open to everybody. It is my dream and my mission, more than a dream. I mean, it is a dream, but it is my mission to bring this to every person, because I know it is both the most ancient way of healing and the most futuristic way of healing all at once, right? It's that beautiful marriage of ancient wisdom and modern science. So I want to bring it to everybody, but I also understand not everybody's ready. So the way that I put my offerings out there is that there are people who find me and say, I heard about your retreats. I'm ready. Sign me up. I'm there. They come, and it is amazing how life changing just a weekend of this work can be. Incredible. So I have some people who come, their lives radically transform in every way possible. And they're off. They can launch, right? They're ready to soar. And they stay connected to the sisterhood, because that's the beauty of this for my women's retreats anyway. I also do retreats for men and teenagers, but for women, just using that as an example, and it's fresh on my mind because I have an event coming up in a few weeks. But the sisterhood that forms, this is your tribe. And we know not just that tribal mentality from our elders and our ancestors, but modern science tells us that a human's nervous system regulates in collaboration with others. We know that the ultimate deep healing experience comes in interaction with others. Humans are relational beings, right? So again, it's this beautiful, the ancient wisdom, they knew this. They knew this, right? We've come so far, and I'm saying, hey, look what modern science is showing. We have to go back. So I integrate that into people's lives. So there are people who come one and done. I have had women retreating with me since I began doing weekend retreats. And I started doing half-day retreats. Then I sort of graduated to full-day retreats, right? As people were getting more ready for this message that I was trying to share in the world. I had to meet people where they were at. I'm like, people are not ready for more than 2 hours. Then it was 4 hours, then it was 6 hours. Now it's weekends. Now it's week-long events sometimes,
It's a very personal space, and a lot of people will be like, well, I want to market my retreat. Yeah, you do want to market your retreat, but you need to find the people that resonate with your message and your program. That's the most important thing. That's why, these the way you did it, like little mini workshops, right? And then evolve to eventually a few days.
Yes.
A good way for people to get to know you, to get to know the program, to understand all that. And just going back to what you were saying, this is ancient type of healing, the tribes from back then. Absolutely. And now when you look at it, it's like almost like a new concept, and you have to re-educate people.
Right.
Right. But the thing is, what happened is it went from tribe to community, right? Our parents were very community based. And then because of technology, because of distance and being able to fly anywhere in the world and whatever, these communities broke up and were very individualistic as a society.
Right.
Completely disconnected, not only to other people, to a community, to a tribe, but even to ourselves.
That's right.
That's right. I agree with you 1,000,000% when you say this needs to be, the way to be right now is to bring back the retreats to become the normal, not the luxury or when I have time. This is a necessity to your healing, to your well-being.
I agree. Yeah. And there are so many people, I had a woman call me this morning, and she said, if only I could take time away for a spa weekend. And I'm like, spa weekend? No. But yeah, it's that domestication that has caused people to see the essentials of what we need to heal and be whole and healthy as humans as, some luxury, that maybe if we have time to squeeze in, we can do it. They don't see that this is vital. People are catching on. People are seeing, and so that's why I say this is both the past, the most enduring form of healthcare, and the future and the most innovative form of healthcare, because with a model like this, you know, again, you are connecting with others, you're connecting with source, you're connecting with yourself so deeply, and you're reconnecting with those self-healing capacities that you're already born with, so that you recognize that everything that you've been domesticated to seek from outside of you, you can source from within.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's the future of health and wellness. That is why I believe every person has to know about this. And I try, you know, as I think you can probably tell, I get very excited about this. I have a lot of passion around this. And mostly because, you know, everything that I do professionally, I have experienced personally. So I wrote a book recently. It's called Rewilding, A Woman's Quest to Remember Her Roots, Rekindle Her Instincts, and Reclaim Her Sovereignty, right? There's those three components again. And that book is my memoir. It's my life story of how I really took myself from sick and starving and stifled to thriving. And I went through the whole, you know, traditional mental health stuff, you know, practice and dependency to this rewilding. And one of the most profoundly healing experiences that I had was retreats. And, you know, I tell people to this day that it was on retreat that I learned what unconditional love was. And sometimes people look at me strangely and they say, well, you're a mom. Didn't you learn that from your kids? And I say, no, because I still had some expectation with my kids, right? We're human, we do. But when I was gathered in a group for my first ever retreat that I went on as a participant with 12 other women, strangers, right, who came together and shared our story, right, and held hands, literally and metaphorically, and created a safe space and a safe container where I could really be myself and let my guard down in every way possible and strip naked, even literally, right? And be held and be received and be regarded so unconditionally. That is how I learned unconditional love. And I experienced such profound healing from that retreat. And, you know, I felt called to go there because I knew from very young I was supposed to do this work. I was supposed to be bringing people out for this kind of healing. But I had to experience it myself. And I understand the fear that people feel. Where am I going? What am I getting into? Am I going to be with strangers? You know, what's going to happen to me? I get it all. I've lived it. And so it's really why I tell people, I understand, you know, and I'm going to meet you where you're at because I've been there too. But I also believe so strongly with so much passion with all of me that this is the way to heal because I've lived it. I've been there, you know, and I'm on the other side of it now. And I know everything I have lived through was given to me so that I could use it as a lantern to light the way for others. And that's how I do this job.
It takes a lot of courage, you know, for someone who's never been to a retreat. The first time they go, people hesitate to go to parties or get-togethers if they don't know anybody. They're like, I
Yes.
don't know anybody, you know, and that's just for a couple of hours. Can you imagine an entire weekend or week, right? They're like, it takes courage.
Yes, it does.
But the best thing for someone who is a retreat goer is to get to know the person that is offering these retreats, get to
Yes.
know their program, talk to them, get on the phone, call them. You know what? It's their right to know that they are spending a lot of money because they're not, inexpensive retreats.
Right.
It can be very expensive. There is some donated based retreats out there, but
Right.
in general, you're usually on a trip somewhere foreign and you're doing stuff. So that comes with a cost. And what's even more valuable for me is the time they're going to spend.
Yes.
They want to know that their time is being valued and it's not just, a vacation, because if they wanted a vacation, they could have done that on their own.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, what would you give as advice to anybody who has been on a retreat, has had a beautiful experience, and is now thinking of starting up their own thing because they're in the wellness industry? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so I love that. And so many more people are coming to me in that boat, who say, this changed my life, and I want to be able to give this as an offering, as a gift to other people, because it's so profound. And one of the things that I tell people all the time, one of the most important things is that if you want to offer a retreat, so I look at, as a retreat leader, I don't even use that word. I use mentor and guide, right? Because I'm there as a guide, I'm there as a mentor, and I'm also participating in it myself. So I tell people, you have to think of yourself as a mentor, right? And what do all mentors do? They lead through their authenticity, right? They show up. How do they show up? So I ask people who come to me for mentoring to do retreats or to do, this kind of work in the world. And I tell them, how are you showing up in the world? You have to keep doing your work. You have to keep digging deeper and diving deeper in yourself, because you can't take people any deeper than you're willing to go yourself, right? So the number one piece of advice that I say is, you have to keep doing your own work. I continue to go on retreats all the time because I have to dive deeper. And it's not about learning what to do, the logistics, how to decorate the room or how to pick a hotel or all of that is easy when you're in alignment, right? But if you're not in alignment with your mission and you're doing it for the wrong reasons, or you're doing it from a place where you're not in it with integrity and authenticity, it's not going to line up, and people can't trust you. When you bring groups of people on retreat, and I don't care how big or small the group is, it could be 2 people, could be 4 people, could be 24 people, or 104 people. These people are putting their trust in you. You are the lantern lighting the way. So that light better be so strong, right? And this is not about perfection. I am by no means, some master, some ascended anything, right? I'm a stumbling human like everybody, but I do my work consistently. I show up for myself every day doing the work. I put my trust in other people for guidance, right? For their retreats. So I'm learning and growing as a person. That's the expertise that you want to bring to a retreat. It's not about the bells and whistles. Anybody can do that. What's going to make your retreat stand out is if you can show up and the light, that lantern, is shining so brightly from within you. That is what will make your retreat the most memorable, because it's that authenticity, sharing your truth, sharing your story that people can trust.
And it goes, what you mentioned before and what you're mentioning now is about energy again.
Yes.
You don't see it. They won't see it, but they will feel it.
Yes.
Right? They will feel that authenticity. They will feel that energy. And that is what will resonate to them.
Right.
For them.
Yes.
How can people reach out to you? I know you have a few retreats coming up, one coming up soon, but whether this one or the next one, I'm sure people would like to know more about you. Where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's www.KristyVanacore.com. So I have information on there about all of my offerings, and I work with people all over the world in various capacities. And also on social media, on Facebook under just my name, Kristy Vanacore. I'm also on Instagram under Vanacore Embody Your Wild. And I post a lot on social media. I write a lot of blogs. I am a writer. It is one of my passions. It is a way that that I have healed also, is through the power of storytelling. So I write a lot of articles, and I share a lot of my story and a lot of my truth, because I really believe our story is our medicine. So to really find out, more about me and my approach and what my journey has been, I'm on social media. And of course I have my book that's out. This is my my copy that's all worn and torn, but Rewilding, A Woman's Quest to Remember Her Roots, Rekindle Her Instincts, and Reclaim Her Sovereignty. That is my story. That is my whole life story. And, I really believe, again, that if we have the courage to show up for ourselves and own our story and put it out there for the world, that is how we can inspire so much change.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on this mission and spreading your wings to create such type of transformation. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really feel like the listeners today will get a new insight on how impactful retreats can be, and they know a lot more about you now. And if anybody wants to know more, you heard her say everything, where to reach her, but we will write it also in the comments or description below. Thank you. Thank you once again for being here.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I love this. And again, sharing this mission with like-minded people who are just trying to change the world. It's everything. So yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Amazing. And for those who are looking to learn how to plan retreats from the inception of your idea to post-retreat, whether it's for transformation, marketing, or profiting with your retreats, just go to retreatboss.com. We offer courses, self-paced or mentorship. Thanks again, and till next time.
Thank you for listening to the Retreat Boss podcast. When it comes to achieving wellness and transformation, nothing is more effective and profound than a well-orchestrated retreat. Achieve huge revenue growth, one trip at a time. Want to learn more on expanding your business with retreats? Visit retreatboss.com, when profitable retreats are made easy. Be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show at retreatboss.com/podcast. Until next time, take care.